Welcome to day 3 of Breakfast and Bible, looking at this, cultivating this environment of the fruit of the Spirit. We had the fruit of the Spirit is love, day 1. We had joy, day 2. And today we have peace. Ooh, I love peace. I got a definition for that one in my Bible, so I'm going to go find it really quickly. It looks like for me that definition is at Luke 1:79. What a long chapter in the Bible. Luke 1:79. Let's look at that for a second together. Peace. This is what it says from Strong's Concordance. Compare Irene it is a state of rest, quietness, and calmness, an absence of strife and tranquility. It generally denotes a perfect well-being. Irene includes harmonious relationships between God and men and men, nations and families. Jesus is Prince of Peace, gives peace to those who will call upon him for their personal salvation. Ooh, this peace. I want your peace, Lord. I want the fruit that is peace. You know something? As I was studying for Holy Homes, I want to take you back to this idea in Genesis 1 that we looked at on Sunday, that God is the creator. Now, this is what I would do in my Bible study. I know that I'm not showing you how I get to this cross-reference, but I remember it for Sunday, so I want to go study it a little bit further. But I'm always trying to flip through and cross-reference things and dig deeper into things. And so it says, in the beginning, God created. The word created there is to form or to fashion, to produce or to create. And what is really happening here, in my commentary, it says this, that what is happening here is that God, he is bringing order to the disorder. He is bringing form to the unformed. He is taking that which lacks order, and when his commands are complete, it will have order, it will be complete, and it will be beautiful. And now I'm going to pull into some of the things that I would be pulling into. I'm always kind of listening to teaching. That's kind of what I do. I like listening to podcasts. I like listening to teaching because I've just learned that if I can get under teaching, I believe that one of the ways we change is that we're really, really careful about what we get taught. We're really, really careful about what we input. And so I'm always kind of listening to teaching and trying to dissect teaching. And so as I read, hey, one of the fruits of the Spirit is peace. As I learned that word peace, it is this right relationship. It is this tranquility. As I think about that and I go back to Genesis 1 and remember from the sermon on Sunday that there's this lack of order and there's this order, then I remember this podcast that I heard that was talking about how the opposite of chaos isn't peace, but the opposite of chaos is order. And peace is merely a fruit of order. If you can allow God to bring things into order, then when things are in the right order, you'll experience more peace. And so I just think about that today, that if I want the mood and the manner, the attitude, the culture of my home to be a culture of peace, I've got to get things in the right order. Now, this can fall into so many different categories when it comes to kids and it comes to husband and it comes to wife and it comes to family, so many different things that can fall in there. But I just want to talk about the primary order of the home, because you may be single watching this or whatever it may be, and I want to talk about the primary order of the home. The order of the home is ordered around the mission that God births in your life when you get saved, and that is the starting place of peace, that I begin to experience more peace when I have the right order in my house, where my life is centered around making my home in God and making my home in the mission that he's given me, not in just doing whatever I want. When God brought order to creation, he imposed his will, he imposed his word, and he imposed his works. If I want peace, peace is on the other side of me getting my life in alignment, in order with God's will, God's works, and God's word. So what I want to do is I want to say, Lord, what is your will? Okay, your will is that the primary focus of my life in Romans would be that my life is conformed to the image of your Son. Okay, so what's the number one thing that I want my life to be about? If I want there to be peace in my life, the number one purpose of my life has to be, God, my life is number one goal is to be conformed into the image of your Son. I want to look like Jesus, love like Jesus, talk like Jesus, be like Jesus. So I want that to be the will of my life. Number two is I want you to impose your word on my life, Lord. So why are we doing breakfast and Bible? We're doing breakfast and Bible because we want this thing to frame our family. We want this thing to frame the foundations and the framing of our home. And so I want to know your word. I want to know that peace is equivalent to order in Genesis. I want to dig deep into your word, and I want to know it so that it can change the environment of my home. And then lastly, Lord, as I go to work today, as I go to be a dad today, go to be a mom today, go to the soccer field today, Lord, I want to orient my life around your works. So my primary work isn't serving mammon and making money. My primary work is, Lord, what is the works? Making disciples, being generous, showing hospitality, serving the poor. How is what I'm going to do today accomplishing your works? When I order my life around that sovereignty of God, his will, his works, and his way, I'll have more peace. And so, Lord, that's what we want. We want the fruit of his Spirit. The fruit of his Spirit is as his Spirit comes into our life, we orient our life around his Spirit. And his Spirit, it will always push us towards his will, his work, and his ways. So today, what's his will? How at the end of the day do I look more like Jesus? Got it. What's his word? Today, I want to be a person that is experiencing the peace of God that requires order. So I'm going to put my life in order. Got it. What's his works? How today am I going to be a disciple living in the mission of the Great Commission? I love the way Pastor Chris Hodges says it. He says this. He says, the Great Commission is getting the lost saved, the saved pastored, the pastored discipled, and the discipled mobilized. So how are you at work in that today where you're at? How are you getting the lost saved? How are you getting the saved shepherded? How are you getting the shepherded discipled? How are they becoming more like Jesus? And how are you getting the discipled mobilized? How are you pushing them into their God-giving calling and identity? That's what we want to focus on today. If we order our life around that, we will have so much more peace. I promise you. So show back up tomorrow for day 4 of Bible and breakfast and Bible, whatever I called it. We'll see you tomorrow.